Cornhusker fans, we're back for another episode. That's episode 2 of Blackshirts Breakdown. Now, last week we were getting down and dirty with the defense, talking coaching staff, talking dirt dogs. We're going to flip the script. We're going to go offense. We're going to talk about stability, bringing back stability and leadership. That guy that you could count on to get the job done no matter what. That is the quarterback position. Well, we're going to go back, like Back to the Future with Marty McFly and Doc. We're going to 1992. We're going to go back to Tommy Frazier, the man, the run, that guy that did it for the Cornhuskers. From 92 to 95, Tommy Frazier was Nebraska Cornhusker. Now, his numbers weren't always the greatest when it came to completion percentage, 49.5 career percentage, and he only threw for 3,500 yards, but he had 43 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, right? But my man on the ground got jiggy. 342 attempts, 1,955 yards, 36 touchdowns, and we all know about the drive, right? Tommy Frazier took it to the house, thought he was tackled. Outski, I keep going for the tutty. We win. That's how it goes. But Frazier was a leader on the team, okay? And we went from one leader in 92 to 95 to I know it's a sour taste in the mouth. Blackshirt fans, take a breath, relax, rinse it down with something. I'm going to talk about a guy that you don't really like at the moment, but at the time he was a dude. And that's Scott Frost from 1996 to 1997. Scott Frost was 192 attempts, completions out of 359 attempts, right? Stepped up to completion from Frazier, 53.5%. He threw for 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks. Another guy that got down on the ground. This is what it was, Nebraska back then, right? Back at the times in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was just get it by any means necessary. We're going to pound you. We're going to throw a little short dunk and dink, play action over the top. This is what we do. Scott Frost ran the ball a lot. 302 attempts, 1,500 yards. My man averaged 5 yards per carry for 28 touchdowns in his career at Nebraska. And then it was the man that everybody loved, everybody fell in love with. He was the dude that got drafted high in the NFL. He was the Heisman Trophy winner in 01. And that is Eric Crouch from 1998 to 2001. This man was your leader. This man was your stability. He kept everybody in check when guys didn't know what to do. He said, I got you, and put the team on his back. He had shoulders that were so broad he could carry the world. He got it done for you. 312 completions out of 600 attempts. That was more than 200 attempts than anybody before him. The completion percentage was always an issue for quarterbacks in Nebraska. We need to change that. My man Crouch was at 51.5 completion percentage. Not the greatest, but he did throw for 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, 25 interceptions. That's just too close for me. He had that year in 01 was the Heisman run, but my man had 648 attempts for 3,400 yards. Another guy who averaged 5.3 yards per carry. We're not talking about running backs here. We're talking about your quarterback, your leader, that dude running for 5+ yards per carry. And he had 59 touchdowns on the ground career. 59 people. Insane. Went on to the NFL. Didn't have as much success as he had in Nebraska, but that's neither here nor there. Now we're going to fast forward a few years, okay? We're going to go to guys who had more than 1 year in the pocket. There was a few guys in that span there that were just not even a year, maybe 6 or 7 games, got flipped and flopped. We're not going to talk about that. That hurts my heart a little bit too much. We're going to talk about a little bit more of leaders on the team, okay? We're going to go to Zach Taylor. Yes, you know Zach Taylor. He's currently NFL's coach. He was a Cornhusker from 05 to 06, right? 470 completions out of 821 attempts, 57.2% completion percentage, 5,850 yards. A man threw for 45 touchdowns, 20 picks, but he wasn't a runner. He was your pocket QB, right? He only had 2 rushing touchdowns. Then there was hope. We all thought a few years later that Taylor Martinez would be that guy. He was going to take over. He was going to lead the Cornhuskers to a championship. And not everything works out the way we hope or expect. From 2010 to 2013, Martinez was your guy. The last 2 years, he really couldn't stay healthy. Another gentleman in the back leading this offense that just can't seem to get over 60% completion. This is my issue. We need guys that can sit in the pocket, can also be a dual threat, but can complete the ball for mid 60% completion. I need 64, 65% on the regular. Now that is 57, 53. Tommy Frazier, 40. We can't have that no more. There's a new time of Nebraska football. There's a new time of college football. You have to be a dual threat and you have to complete the ball. Martinez couldn't do that. But he did throw for 7,200 yards. He did throw for 56 touchdowns, 29 interceptions. My man ran for almost 600 attempts, 3,000 yards, right? Another quarterback. It blows my mind how many of our quarterbacks ran for 5 or more yards per carry. They have no longevity. This is why our quarterbacks never, ever play full seasons. We need to protect these guys. Make the big men up front, protect them, but you can't run them into the ground. All right. Martinez ran for 31 touchdowns. Directly following this gentleman was Tommy Armstrong, 2013 to 2016. Completed 625 passes, 1,100 pass attempts. But we're right in the same ballpark. We're just dropping down a little bit. 53.3% completions. You see the trend. We can't get out of 50%. We just live in this realm of mediocrity at quarterback position. We need to take the next step. Tommy Armstrong completed 8,800 yards passing, 67 touchdowns, 44 interceptions, 420 attempts on the ground, 1,800 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 23 touchdowns. You snuck in a year there with Tanner Lee at 2017, 12 games, 246 completed passes, 428, attempts, closer to 60, still not there, 57.5%. He threw for 3,000 yards. Going back, all these quarterbacks I named, none of these gentlemen threw for 3,000 yards. It's mind-blowing. Tanner Lee averaged 7.3 yards per attempt. You guys can all go back and check. You might have had one gentleman that was even remotely close to 7 yards per attempt. He threw 23 touchdowns, 16 picks. Again, mediocrity. The numbers are too similar, too close. We need some parity need some range in that numbers. I want 25 and 5. I want, 31 and 10. That's fine with me. But 23 and 16, we cannot have that. For years, we said we want a dual threat guy who can throw the ball. We want a dual threat guy that can get 60% completion. I just wasted my breath for the last 3 to 4 minutes explaining to you that we need a guy, that we ran a guy out of town in Adrian Martinez that has a career completion percentage of 63.5%. From 2018 to 2021, he completed 670 passes, 1,055 attempts, 63.5 completion percentage, 8,491 yards, 45 touchdowns, 30 picks. That's my gripe. The numbers are too close. You were just, you threw a touchdown and then, 2 touchdowns and then it was a pick. And then 2 touchdowns and then it was a pick. We can't have that. He rushed the ball for 500 attempts, 2,300 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and 35 touchdowns. Now, last year, we brought in the Texas Ranger, Casey Thompson, transfer portal. In 2022 for the Cornhuskers, in 10 games before the injury, he had 173 completions, 274 attempts, 63.1% completion. It's back-to-back quarterbacks that are putting up 60s. I see the change. Change is coming, and it's coming in the wave of the head coach coming next. Now, Casey completed 63% completion. He also had 2,400 yards passing. But look at this, 8.8 yards per attempt. I love it. Continues to grow from 2017 to 2022. You need to try to air the ball out. Great run. I get it. You need to dual threat, but you need to throw the ball past 5 yards. Casey Thompson had 17 touchdowns, 10 picks, and he had a passer rating of 150.1 on the season with 5 rushing touchdowns. Now, who is next? To quote the great Goldberg, who is the next quarterback for the Cornhuskers? Well, we're bringing in head coach Matt Rule, and everybody knows Matt Rule is a QB whisperer. He may not make these gentlemen go first round, but he gets the best out of his quarterback, and the team wins games. Let's back in this time machine. Monty McFly again. Matt Rule back at Temple. Who was his quarterback back then? A gentleman by the name of P.J. Walker, who under Matt Rule threw for 10,668 yards, 56.9% completion, 77 touchdowns, 44 interceptions, but he also rushed for 770 yards, 9 touchdowns. Now, he was QB1 at the helm for Matt Rule in Carolina. And cumulatively, he totaled 1,400 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 11 picks. Nothing great. But he's in the NFL, and under Matt Rule in college, he performed. Matt Rule says, okay, I'm leaving Temple. I'm going to Baylor. I'm going to resurrect another program because this is what Matt Rule does in college. All right, Baylor, boom. They're back on the map. Who's their quarterback? That's Charlie Brewer. 9,700 yards. This number I like. 63.5%, 65 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. He also rushed for 1,000 yards, 22 touchdowns. People, you all know Rule gets the best out of his quarterback. And a healthy quarterback battle is the best thing. You get the best product. Now, right now, there are 3 gentlemen in Lincoln that are battling for this QB spot. Okay. There's a 4th guy I'm going to talk about because he's a curveball, knuckleball. We don't know yet. But up first would be 2020 commit Logan Smothers. Smothers is out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. That's his hometown, right? He chose Nebraska over Louisville and Ole Miss, who had both gave them office. He's 6'2", 190. Right now, his career total at Nebraska is 413 yards. He's 33 of 51, no touchdowns, 1 pick. He's ran for 161 rush yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. As a senior at Muscle Shoals, Smothers helped the team to a 12-1 record by passing for over 2,000 yards and 27 touchdowns. And he rushed for 800 plus yards and 13 touchdowns. He was a second-team All-State selection and the second largest football class in Alabama. And he earned honorable mention All-State honors in the same class. Now, do I think Smothers is going to be pushing both these gentlemen? No. But he could get lightning in a bottle and in camp and in spring games be something that just makes both of these gentlemen hop off the seat, get in there and say, oh, hello, what do I got to do here? But the problem is Casey Thompson is coming back. He's a former 4-star, right? His brother, Kendall Thompson, was a quarterback for Oklahoma and Utah. He's 6'1", 194 out of Texas. We all know what he did. In Texas, he 63.8%, 63.8 completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 8.4 yards per attempt, 30 touchdowns, 9 picks. I talked to you about what he did last year. The 8.8, I love it. Yards per attempt, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks. But he's injured, okay? He's coming off shoulder surgery. He's only in week 11 of a 16-week recovery process. I worry because what I hear is he can't throw the ball the earliest to March 27th, March 28th. Okay. Spring games are right around the corner after that. Will he miss spring games? Is he going to watch the other gentlemen start to pop and say, I need to hurry myself back? I don't know, but it is a question we have to, keep in the back of our minds. Not great. He has a strong arm, Thompson, and he has enough mobility to extend plays, but I don't know if he's dual threat. There's another gentleman came in. I truly know is dual threat. Thompson is a great touch passer, but he struggles with the deep ball. Anything over 45 yards gets real iffy and questionable. Okay. And man, when the pocket gets tight, he does the cha-cha slide, man. He needs to chill out, let his feet set, get comfortable. His ball placement also is kind of all over the map. Receivers never getting the ball constantly in front of him and in stride. It's behind them, over them, low. They'd always change up the route. So Thompson needs to hone it in post-injury. We'll see what happens. The next gentleman up is the guy I like. I've been tooting his horn. I've been hammering the table about him, and that is Georgia Tech transfer Jess Sims. Okay, he's another former 4-star recruit, 6'3", 210, coming over from Georgia Tech. His career at Georgia Tech, he's completed 364 passes out of 633 attempts, 57.5% of completions, 4,400 yards, right? 7.1 yards per attempt, 30 touchdowns, 23 picks. My man's dual threat, 277 attempts, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4.2 yards per carry. Now, he's right around the 59, 60%. In his 3 years at Georgia Tech, it was 59.4%. Then it was 60.1 his sophomore year and 58.5 the year before. So he's getting there. He can improve. Better team, better scenario. We probably get 62, 63%. He is great in a spread style offense. He's a legitimate dual threat quarterback. His velocity is good. He can throw the ball to the far hash marks with no issues. He was once an elite 11 QB. He uses his lower body to get torque on the ball. It's not all arm strength, okay? Quick release. That thing snaps. You hear the ball pop in receiver's hands. And he can play off chalk, right? It doesn't have to be what's scripted. My man can change a play and roll out and get it done. But he needs to work on the deep ball, similar to Casey Thompson. And he also needs to lock down his happy feet when the pocket tends to collapse. He rolls out, and when he rolls out, it's not so much two options. Sometimes it's just tuck it and go, or he's thrown into the stance. So he needs to kind of hone those in and fix those things. But I think Sims is going to be your week one QB1. I think he brings a lot of versatility to the lineup. We will talk more about that in future episodes of what he's going to be able to throw to, what he's going to have come out of the backfield, who's going to be protecting him. Those will be, future episodes coming up. But I think Sims is QB1. I think Sims is an upgrade to what PJ Walker was, and we've seen what PJ Walker was and what he produced under Matt Rule. I think Jeff Sims came to Nebraska for a reason. He knew it was there. This is a chance for him to play in the Big Ten, get more exposure, and now he's with a dude who can get the best out of him. But before we close this out, we're talking QBs. I'm looking out and I'm doing some research, and I see Dylan Raiola, 5-star, 6'3", 200-pound QB, just got off a visit to Lincoln, Nebraska, and everything went well. Okay? They're saying crystal ball right now with 37% chance, 24/7. The other two schools are Georgia and Ohio State. And before I break down why I think Nebraska actually has an upper hand on both of those schools, I want to talk a little bit about Raiola. Raiola threw for 3,300 yards, 32 touchdowns, 12 games as a sophomore in high school. Okay, in 2022, he threw for 2,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, while completing 64% of his passes. He's the consensus QB1 in this class. All right, he's got good stature in the pocket and a smooth, like peanut butter, easy release. He gets through progressions well. He does not lock in and throw. My man goes through the pocket, looks at every guy he needs until he finds the guy that's open. Right, he's got good pocket presence and awareness, and he flashes that big arm strength. He can make the throws on a variety of arm angles all over the field. Now, I talked about Georgia and I talked about Ohio State being involved. But why would this gentleman, who's a 5-star, go to Georgia, who have 3 QBs battling for a position who are all 4 to 5 stars? And Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, and Gunnar Stockton. I wouldn't if I'm Raiola. And that's why he canceled his visit to go to Georgia and went to Nebraska instead. Ohio State's got a push for Raiola. They were tied to him early. But they also have 2 5-star QBs, and Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, who are battling for the QB1 spot. Why would he go there? I think within the next 5 to 10 days, the crystal ball percentage number is going to increase to a high 40, mid 40 percentage. And I think the buzz around Dylan Raiola coming to Lincoln, Nebraska is about to get real. Will he pass Jeff Sims as QB1? I don't believe so. I think it's Jeff Sims' job. I think Jeff Sims is going to lead this Cornhusker team to a bowl eligibility season. We need leadership. We need stability. Sims has proven he can do that in Georgia Tech, and he's coming to a team that is primed and ready for him. He has weapons on the outside, which we will discuss in future episodes. The QB whisperer is there. Matt Rule is locked in to college again. Be ready for the Jeff Sims breakout. Blackshirts, Cornhuskers. Episode 2 is in the books. We're coming hard. We're coming every week. And we are back because it's time for a change in Lincoln, Nebraska.